Alright guys, today I'm going to bring you a video on tips and tricks for new and returning players. I'll give you guys a short list of some of the things we're going to go over in this video. I have about 9 pages of notes, so it's not going to be everything that we're going to cover here. I mean, obviously we're going to go over a few tips and tricks for new players. We're going to go over what OPR is, what does it stand for, how do you play it, what is a world tour? How do you get invited? Where do you go? All that. What is the new activity group finder? How does it work? We're going to go over if players should buy the battle pass. We're going to go over what are mutated expeditions. Everything you need to know about mutated expeditions. We're going to go over dark matter. What is it? What is it used for? We're going to go over Azoth inductors. What is it? How do you get them? How to use them? We're going to go over how to get the mount in New World. We're going to go over what level you have to be, what you need to have to get the mount, the quest name. We're going to go over Magnify. That has had a few changes over the past couple months. We're going to go over what it is. We're going to show you how to use it efficiently. We're going to go over chromatic seals, which is a new item in New World, which is very important. We're going to go over how to get them, how to use them. We're going to go over tools. We're going to go over factions. We're going to go over named items. We're going to go over the Gypsum kiln. Where are they? How to use them. Heart runes. Artifacts. And then we're going to go over the best way to make gold once you get higher into the game. We're going to go over what gypsum stones are. We're going to go over gypsum orbs. We're going to go over matrices, the different types of them, how to use them, how to craft or buy them. We're going to go over leaderboards, weapon perks, how to get the most out of gathering when you're gathering across the world. We're going to go over how to craft top gear score items. So we have quite a long list of things to go through, right? This is going to be kind of a long video, so I'm going to take the opportunity to say it now. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. However, guys, the best way to support me would be to check me out on Twitch. I go live every single day. My name on Twitch is A Noble Duelist. If you want to come check me out there, hang out. We have a growing community of people that come in, enjoy helping new and returning players. We discuss new things in New World, and just try to have fun. So let's get on with the video, guys. Alright guys, so a tip that I have for new players is going to be to craft your own health potions and other potions that you need. You do that at the arcane repository. The reason why this made it on my list is because a few months ago, I leveled up a alt character from 0 to max level, and one of the things I noticed was health potions were eating a lot of my gold away. And as a new player, especially when console releases, there's going to be a lot of players, like veteran players, taking advantage of fresh players, and they're going to inflate these prices, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the arcane repository. You're going to look up health potion. And so this is what you would need to do it, right? When you're starting off, this is what it says you'll need. So let's look up this weak alkahest. and you need water and high sop, right? As you'd imagine, you can get water from any water in the game. You just go there, uh, get it, and then this alkahest you get from the blue plants throughout the world. They're all over the place. So I'm gonna make 28 of these. You're gonna hit craft, and you're gonna get some bonus ones, right? So now that we have the weak alkahest, we could type in health potion. Boom. We have the weak alkahest that we just crafted. We have these bulrush cobs. You click this, you could see other things you can use. Right, another tip. And I'm gonna craft these. Then you just use them. Alright guys, another tip that I have for beginner players is try not to spend your gold when you're leveling on armor and weapons. Just use what you find, because every few levels that gear won't be good anymore. So I recommend just using what you find throughout the game as you're playing it. At least until you hit like rank like, I don't know, 40, 50-ish, right? Because otherwise it really is just a waste of gold. Just experiment with what you have. Try out, what you get from the game. Alright guys, so the next tip we're going to go over is another beginner one. It's going to be what are the different equip loads. I'm going to show you how to see what they are in game. And another tip is I personally recommend to try them out, see which ones you prefer, which one you prefer. But also when you're going through the game for the first time, it would probably benefit you to run a heavy equip load, so that way you're tankier, you could take more damage, and really you could do pretty good damage. So I highly recommend that. So in game, you're going to hit the tab button. It'll bring this menu up, and right up here in the top left area, if you hover over this, it says equip load, and then it goes over all the different details that you need to know about each different equip load, right? So to go over some of the basics, right? If you're in a light equip load, you're going to have plus 15 base damage. Your outgoing healing is going to be plus 30%. So that's why 99% of healers are, mandatory to be in light, because you do more heals. Any assassin high damage type build is going to be light. But on the flip side, like medium, right, is like kind of like the neutral, right? It doesn't have a damage, an increased damage. Is kind of like the neutral, equip load. It goes over the block ability, dodge, stamina cost, right? So if you're in heavy, you do minus 15% base damage. I really don't think it's as bad as it sounds. But like I said, this is how you find it out. Alright guys, so the next thing we're going to go over is, as a new or returning player, should you buy the Elysian Wilds expansion? And the quick and easy answer is yes, I think you should. The two biggest reasons will be you will not be able to hit max level without the expansion, and two, you won't have access to mounts, right? So this makes the game so much more enjoyable and quicker to do things in, having a mount. So I do highly recommend getting the expansion Elysian Wilds. However, when console release happens, they haven't told us how they're going to do it yet, right? I don't know if it's going to be included or not, but if it's not, I recommend buying it. So guys, the next thing we're going to go over in this video is now a good time to play New World? And I'm going to say yes, it is. So if you're watching this prior to console release, why is it a good time to play, right? So you can get on, you can get established, you can hit max level, you can start working on in-game content prior to the console people showing up, right? And then if you're watching this after console release and you're wondering, should I play this game? Again, if you didn't guess, the answer is going to be yes, you should. So the detailed reason why now is a good time to play is because for the past 8 months, New World has not really given us any content because they have been prepping this game for console release. They didn't really tell us till like a few days ago, but we haven't gotten any new content because they've been working on controller support. They've been working on the MSQ. They've been working on shards to make it smoother, to have a higher population in the game. So yeah, that's what I think. All right, guys. So with all that being said, I think now is a perfect time to start playing the game. Now that they finally announced that it's coming to console, I think they're going to be able to start focusing on the content that we've been asking for, right? They're going to focus on giving us PvP maps, uh, PvE dungeons, expansions, and all that type of stuff. So again, I think now is as good a time as ever to start playing New World. All right, guys. So the next tip we're going to bring you guys is another beginner's tip. It's going to be how to level up a character. I've done this twice, right, on my main and an alt account. And I would say the most efficient way to do it is kind of like there's like three parts to it, right? You're going to do the main story quest, right, obviously. And while you do that, you're going to do the side missions that are in that area. You'll see it on the map. You'll see it in the town you're in. You'll see it as you're traveling down the road. Pick those up. They're most likely going to be in the same area that you're already doing the MSQ. And while you're doing that, gather, right? Mine, uh, get the hemp, do all that stuff because wherever you're at is going to be level appropriate to your gathering. If you don't do it as you do the MSQ, you're going to get to a point real quick where you can't gather anything because you didn't do that prior. So that's my recommendation. Do that. Take your time, enjoy it, um, and you'll be max level before you know it. Alright, guys. So the next tip I'm going to bring you is another beginner one. It's going to be how to change the map UI, right? So you're just going to hit the M button. That'll bring up the map. You can see the whole map of Aeternum. And then over here on the left side, you click filters and you click what you want to see and what you don't want to see, right? So if I click off landmarks, which is going to include dungeons, trials, stuff like that. I could click that. Another big one is here at the bottom is going to be faction influence. I keep that on because you can see the outline of the territories much easier. So if I turn that off, it looks like that, right? I find that harder to see where everything's at. Another big one is going to be side stories. I have it off because it's been a while since I've done side stories, missions. I recommend new players to have this on. Yeah, and just click and find out how you want your map to look. It's a very useful tool. Alright, guys, so the next tip we're going to bring is another beginner one. It's going to be a very important one and probably one people are looking for. It's going to be how to get your mount. I'm going to go over all the information you need to know, right? So if you click the M button and go to the map, it's going to be in, I believe, Everfall. Yeah. So some of the things that you need prior to getting your mount is going to be, you need to be level 25. You must have the DLC in order to get the mount, assuming, maybe console release, they change that, right? But as of now, you need the DLC. And you're going to go to this shrine right here, Shadow Mine Shrine. And you're going to go north. There's going to be an NPC called Jockey Khan. And I'm pretty sure it's right here, right? This is going to be right here. The quest is going to be called My Freedom for a Horse. The first mount you're going to get is Moon Shadow. It's going to be a horse. If you keep doing the quest, which I recommend, and I'll tell you why in a second, you're going to get a wolf along the quest line. After that, you're going to get a lion. So the reason why I recommend doing that, which hold on, let me show you another thing. So if you go to filters, right, I saw this just a second ago. There's a section called Mount Quest. So, you know, if you turn everything off and turn that on, it should make it pretty simple to see where you need to go for that, right? So we're going to go to character. We're going to go to trade skills. We're going to go to riding, right? I'm going to show you why it's important. Every 50 levels, you get a speed boost, right? Because when you first get the mount, it's not, I don't even know if it's faster than walking, right? So you're going to get a speed boost at 50, speed boost at 100, 150, 200. And a lot of these rewards, right? Like this one is a very good one. Gives a medium boost to mount summoning speed. That's a really good one, which I'll show you guys really what this is, because you guys might not even know what that is, right? But you get different talisman and stuff as you level up your riding, right? So if you hit the tab button, you're going to go to view mount equipment, right? We're going to repair. Apparently they're broken. I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know that they could break. I didn't even know that they had durability. So, some of the things you get while leveling up your riding is going to be stuff that you can equip to make your horse riding experience better, faster, more efficient, right? Alright guys, so we're going to do another beginner's tip, and we're going to showcase all the weapons that are currently available for you to play in New World. So if you hit K, under character, weapon mastery, these are all the weapons. You have one-handed, two-handed, ranged, and magical. You could pick 2 weapons to use at any given time. You rank them up by using them. So if you have a spear in your hand and you kill something, you'll get XP. You start at 0. The highest you can be is 20. 20 maxes it out. And when you go into the tree, you could pick 3 abilities. There's 3 on each side of these. If I show you the bow, same thing. There's 3 different abilities and 3 on each side. And the other thing you want to do when putting a class together is you want to pick 2 weapons that scale under the same attribute, right? So if you pick spear, it'll say right here, damage scales with dexterity and strength. So whatever the first one is going to be, dexterity, it's going to scale more with dex. So you want to have like, 200 dex and then like 75 strength, right? So you want to put more into whatever the first one is. So when you're putting weapons like a class together, right? The great axe scales solely off of strength. So a good pick, really the best pick for the great axe is the warhammer, because it also solely scales off of strength. But right, if you're looking under magical, the fire staff scales off of intelligence. So all these things I'm telling you, like strength over here, intelligence over here, you want those attributes on your armor, because it'll make your weapon do more damage, right? If I have a full set of like strength armor and I'm using a fire staff, I'm not getting all that I can out of my fire staff, right? Because I don't have a lot of intelligence, right? Um, Ice Gauntlet scales off of intelligence. This does intelligence and focus, right? And so what I was saying before, if you look at the gear, I have Constitution on most of my gear, so that way I could run different weapons, and I'm not stuck with, running a weapon if I have all strength or all dex, the downside, which in my opinion isn't a downside, if you run all con, um, let's see. So if I go and see my attributes, right now I have 160 points into Constitution, right? So unless you want to run 5 Constitution, this method will work for any build, right? And I mean, I think that gives you kind of a general breakdown of how you want to kind of like what weapons are available, how to set up a build. You want to match attributes. You wouldn't want a intelligence weapon with a strength and dex, right? Because then when you go to your abilities, you're going to have to put some into intelligence, you're going to have to put some into dex, you're going to have to put some into strength, right? The higher you are, like in any of these given areas, the higher damage you do, right? For that specific attribute. That's why you want to stick to the same two. Alright guys, the next thing we're going to talk about is, should you flag for PvP in New World? And I'm going to say 99% yes, right? So what is flagging for PvP? How do you do it? So you see in the bottom center of my screen, it has the 2 swords. Right now I am flagged for PvP. So if I wanted to unflag, I would hit U, and then it's disabled, right? So if I hit it again, I'm going to be enabled, right? So anytime you're in a town settlement or by a shrine, that's when you can change that. All right, so then once you leave a settlement or a shrine, you have a 30-second cooldown, right? And the benefits of being flagged for PvP highly outweigh not, right? Because to be honest, the chances of you, at least right now, the chances of me running into someone else that wants to fight me is pretty slim. I will say, once console releases and there's a bunch more people on the server, maybe it becomes a much higher chance of encountering someone. So let's go over the benefits, right? If you're flagged for PvP, you get three main benefits. One is going to be XP. If you're leveling up and you're flagged for PvP, you get like a 10% bonus amount of XP just as you're ranking up. Number 2 is going to be when you're gathering. Like if I were to chop down this tree, or this is probably a better example, this banana tree, I would have a higher chance of getting a banana, right? Because if I chop it down, I might only get green wood, as you guys see that. See if we can get a banana. So you do have a higher chance. There, we just got 2 bananas, right? And then the third one is going to be, which is probably the most important, to be honest with you guys, is going to be you get a higher chance of getting better material out of chests, right? When you loot, it's the same concept as gathering. You have a higher chance to get better items if you're flagged for PvP. So unless you just hate doing PvP, or you're doing something specifically where it would suck to die, I would recommend running flagged for PvP. And the last thing I'll say is, if you are flagged for PvP and your friend wants to lobby up with you and he's not flagged, you guys can't join together because you're flagged for PvP. And if you're, again, flagged for PvP, and then someone in a different faction who's your friend wants to wants to play with you, lobby up together, you can't do that at all. So yeah, that pretty much covers everything you need to know. All right, guys. The next thing we're gonna cover is factions, which for new players can be like overwhelming. The players that don't really understand what it is. So let's go over some of the basics so you understand what factions are, and some of the requirements, right? So to join a faction, you have to be level 10 in the game. You must complete all settlement quests. This will unlock the quest called Choose Your Allegiance, which allows you to select a faction. Your faction initiation missions will be shown on your map with either a crown or castle wall icon. There are 3 factions: Syndicate, Marauders, and Covenant. This is important because you can only join companies in the same faction, right? So if you hit K, right on your main screen, there's going to be company, right? Since I'm purple, I can only join the Syndicate. I can only join someone's company if they are also purple or Syndicate, right? Companies are made by players in game, and these companies try to own towns on the map by going to war with other companies, which you saw before when looking at the map. Some's purple, some's green, some's yellow, right? So that all ties into the faction you're in, the company you're in. It's a pretty important aspect of the game if that's something you're into. I have 2,600 hours in the game, and I mean the most useful thing that any player is going to need to use with when it comes to factions is, I'll show you. If you look at the map, right? If you zoom in to the town that you're in, you're going to see a faction representative. Mine's purple because I'm Syndicate. Yours could be yellow or green, depending on what faction you're in. So when you go up to him, you talk to him, and you can get items from him, right? And this is really important right here, right? It's almost like a separate quest line outside of the MSQ, right? When you start doing the faction quests, you're going to rank up from 1 to 2 all the way up to max, right? And that will, depending on what level you are, depends on what you can purchase from your faction vendor, right? And I'm going to be honest, most of the stuff in here isn't really worth it, isn't really worth buying. Only things that I buy still on a daily basis are going to be my Gypsum orbs, and chromatic seals, which we will cover later on in the video, and Azoth inductors. Those are the 3 things: chromatic seals, Azoth inductors, and Gypsum orbs. There's 2 up higher. There's 3 here, so you can get a total of 5 Gypsum orbs. I think that covers everything for faction that you need to know. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention to you guys that's kind of piggybacking on the whole faction thing we just went over is you don't have to be a part of a company in order to participate in a war, right? You can sign up for a war from the war board in towns as long as you are in the same faction, right? So if you're Syndicate, if there's a war going on, you can sign up for it and be on a waiting list, and that company can decide if they want to, who they want to allow in the war. They may already have enough players, they may not, but you don't have to be in the company to participate in a war. Alright guys, the next thing I want to talk about is the battle pass. Should you buy it? We're going to try to make this short and sweet if possible. So you hit F9 on your keyboard, that will bring up the battle pass. If you don't buy it, you will have a free track, right? It's just the stuff on the paid battle pass is better, right? An example, the free battle pass, you get 500 coins, paid one, you get 3,000. Also, if you buy the battle pass, you get both, right? So when you complete track 9, you get this and you get this. You get the whole thing, right? So there is really good things on the battle pass, right? Like at the end, this Azoth inductor sells for 25,000 gold, and you have to have faction tokens to buy it. You get a lot of your money that you invested into the battle pass back in the way of marks of fortune, which is the currency in New World. So I would say if uh, if you join the game mid-season, I would say maybe don't buy it. If you like the game and a new season comes out, I would recommend buying it. If money's tight or whatever, you just don't really care about like cosmetics and other benefits of having the battle pass, it's definitely not necessary, right? So that's kind of my take on it. All right, guys. So the next thing we're going to talk about is OPR. What is it? How do you queue? How is it played? And then the basics as far as scoring in the game and acquiring PvP XP, right? So OPR stands for Outpost Rush, okay? And I'm in a match right now. So I'm going to hit the M button to bring up the map to show you really how it's played, right? So there's going to be 3 capture points, right? There's going to be one by our starting base here. So we want to go stand on the point and capture the objective. The other team is going to spawn here, and they're going to go spawn here. And then really kind of the biggest fight is going to be in the middle, right? So both teams are going to want to cap the middle. The other very important thing about OPR is this right here. This is called Baron. You see the clock going down. It started at 10 minutes. So when that clock hits 0, when that timer hits 0, both teams are going to converge into that area and try to kill a PvE boss. Whatever team kills that boss, the other team, their score freezes for, oh God, I can't remember. Was it 2.5 minutes or 2 minutes or something like that? So it's very important to get that, right? Over here is a corrupted portal, right? So you could do certain PvE aspects in OPR, right? So I'm gonna go out there. This is also new, right? You can ride mounts in OPR, sweet, right? So you can get materials to build PvE things, right? Like I can get this tree right here. You can basically get weird wood. It's called infused saplings or whatever in OPR, right? Here is a summoning circle. So that thing I was showing you on the map here, if you kill the PvE boss, you're going to get a summoning stone. If you have control of this, whatever point you're at, you could put the summoning stone there, and it'll give you like a PvE boss that'll attack the enemies, right? So there's one of the points. Looks like their team got mid, and they're pushing to our spawn right now. So the other thing I wanted to show you real quick, there's more of the wood you can get. So the 3 things. You can get star metal, you can get leather from killing animals and skinning them. Last thing I'm going to try to show you, might make it a little bit long, so maybe I won't. Yeah, because they're already capping it. But that wood that I got, you can build doors on the front of the fort. So if an enemy team gets there, they would have to break through that door prior to going inside, right? So that's pretty much the basics of OPR. All right, guys. So we're pretty much out of the beginner new player tips, and we're going to move on to more of the returning or intermediate tips and tricks. So we're going to talk about the trade post, the benefit of buy orders, right? So if you in case you don't know what the trade post is or where to find it, right? If you go into any settlement, you're going to find this icon, the trading post. You're going to go up to it. And let's see, let's look up a matrix, right? We'll go over buy orders, right? If I wanted to buy this right now, that's the price, right? I could click this and I could buy it, right? It'd be 6,100 after the tax. If I did a buy order, I could potentially buy one for 4,509 cents, right? So how that would work is I would place a buy order. I would put the money up front, and if anybody wants to sell this item, the armor matrix, without actually putting it on the trade post, they could fill a buy order, right? So I could do as many as I wanted, right? As long as I have the gold for it. You could put it as, from 1 day to 14 days. And if it doesn't fill, you will get the money back, right? So if you're patient in New World, you could save a lot of gold, right? And then, let's see, what else are we going to go over? So we could go over kind of the basics of how to use the trade post, right? This would be the beginning screen when you go into the trade post, right? It has different categories, right? And if you go in them, they have subcategories. So if I went into, which, these are kind of these on the side here. So if I go to armor, right, apparel, and I wanted to look up, let's say, a medium glove with health on it, right? I felt like I went a little fast there. We're going to go back to medium gloves. And you can, if you want to be specific on what you're searching for, you're going to hit this button right here. This will give you the ability to pick specific stuff. So if you wanted it to be max gear, right, 700, you put 700. If you don't want it to be 700, you could say, I want it to be 625 to 675, right? So it'll find gear between that, right? If I want it to have strength on it, I would click this. You can click any of these: con, focus, intelligence, dex, and then you could pick this single attribute only, because some pieces will have strength and dex, and so on. They have split attributes. You could click that and say you want health, right? So when you do health, 2 are going to populate. This one for 7% is going to be for amulets, specifically amulets. This one, the 2.4, is going to be for armor. So it's going to find us gloves within this gear score with this attribute with this perk on it, right? Hit apply. I guess there's only one, right? Which I guess kind of makes sense probably because of the specific gear score, right? So the other thing is it may not filter exactly what you wanted until you click this button right here. Once you click that, it will specifically only show your parameters, right? So let's put in 700, and I bet we'll have, let's take strength off, right? Boom. Now we have a lot more options. But that's how you would filter it, right? And the more specific you get, the less items they're going to be, right? May not be any, but that's kind of the basics on how to use it. All right, guys. Next thing we're going to go over is how to put a budget build together in New World, right? Say you're leveling up and you just hit 50 or 55, a new milestone or something, or even if you're max level, how to build a budget build, right? If you want to be as cost efficient as possible. You're going to go into the trade post, right? And this button right here is going to be your best friend to find specific gear that you're looking for, right? We're going to show you how to do a light, medium, and heavy budget build. So for heavy, you're going to want shirking fortification, which I already put in there. But let's just say you want the minimum gear score of 600, right? Right here will allow you to add a specific perk. So let's do shirking fortification. Say this is what you're looking for, right? Let's say strength or dex, right? We're going to click that. And then this, remember, once you click this, it will only show you the items within the parameters that you're searching for. We're going to click that. The next thing you want to do is go under apparel. You're going to go under heavy. And then you're basically, if you need all of these, right? A head, chest, gloves, leg, foot, right? Click this. Boom. That'll give you all your options. Chest. Boom. That'll give you all your options. And you just go through. Ideally, probably pick the cheapest one if you're doing like a budget. Now the next one, again, you're going to click this button right here. This will allow you to filter. You're going to do clear all if you want to start from scratch. So next we'll go over, we're going to go over medium and light, really, because they kind of fit in the same category with the perks that you want. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do 600, strength, dex, and the perk that you're going to want is enchanted ward, right? The other good perk for medium and light is going to be shirking heals, but A, that only works for PvP, and 2, they don't drop naturally from like in the open. You can't get it out of a chest. So the only way to get shirking heals is if it's crafted. Therefore, it's going to be expensive. So we're going to do enchanted ward. We're going to hit apply. Remember, hit this button. So everything that it shows is going to have the exact parameters that you wanted. So we're going to back up. We're going to still in apparel. You can go medium and just do the same thing. All right. And just go through it. And then if you're doing a light build or you want light items, you're going to go to light armor. You just go through it. So that's a good way to get a budget build. I will say that jewelry tends to be more expensive, and you could do the same thing with weapons, right? But weapons, I feel like you can get pretty decent ones dropped throughout the world. Armor, you kind of want all of your pieces to sync together, right? But that's kind of the basics. Alright guys, so next we're going to go over what named items are, what to do with them, how to get them, and how do you know if you can actually upgrade them. So I'm going to give you an example of 2 amulets. You can see one dropped as a legendary, which is gold, one dropped as a epic. They are both the same named items, and you can see the purple one actually dropped at a higher gear score. And they both have nature protection and health on it. So those are the 2 locked perks. As a legendary, it will get a random third perk. Could be any perk, right? So how do you know that it's a named item? It doesn't matter if it's a jewelry, armor, or a weapon. It'll say right here, named item. How do you know if you can upgrade it? That will be right here. The requirement for a named item to be upgraded is level 60. Anything below that, you cannot upgrade. So an example of an armor piece right here, same thing, it says named right here. The level is 61, so you can upgrade it. Here's an example of 2 weapons. So as you can see, the epic form, the purple, will have 2 locked perks. The gold one will have 3, a random third one. And the way to see what the random one is, to know which one the 2 locked perks is, would be to either Google it or bring it to the Gypsum kiln and look at the details on it, because when you put it in there, it'll only show you the 2 locked perks, right? And that is going to be my final point, is how do you upgrade it. That is going to be in the Gypsum kiln, and we're going to go over that in a later portion of the video. Alright guys, next we're going to go over what is dark matter, what is it used for, and how do you get it. Right, so here it is in my storage chest. This is dark matter, and there is a few different ways to get dark matter. Some of them is level 60 plus expeditions, salvaging legendary items, and Outpost Rush, right? So if you want to use some of your dark matter, you would go to the Gypsum kiln. You have to have the item in your inventory, right? And it can't be equipped on your loadout, can't be in one of your gear sets. It has to just be right here, right? So right here, you can upgrade this to gear score 700 by using a jewelry matrix, dark matter, gypsum orb, and chromatic seal. You also have to have the craft mod that you want to put as your third perk, right? And that's it. The next thing we're going to go over is music in New World. So if you hit the tab button and you hit this middle option, these are the different instruments that you can play in New World. And then if you hit 5, it'll bring up your performance where you can actually play music. And as you play the game, you're going to get these different songs. When you do, you have to read it or whatever, and then you can play it at that point. Once you have it, it'll tell you what instruments you could play for that song, right? But the reason why music is actually really good is right here. You get a reward when you play a song, right? If you do Territorial Triumph, you will get, it says increases territory standing bonus. If you do Fortune's Favor, which is another really good one, increases yield when gathering. So when you're out in the open world and you're logging or skinning or whatever you're doing, you will actually get more of that if you have this buff going, right? And the other thing is right here, depending on the difficulty you play the music on, you will get a higher reward from doing it. So, is music important in New World? I would say yes, it is very important. I would recommend you get this level up as soon as possible. Alright, the next thing we're going to go over is a recommendation that I have for new or returning players, and that is going to be to get armoring max level, right? And you can craft stuff at the forge to do that. The reason why I recommend to do this is pretty simple, right? You can have 3 artifacts on. One's going to be a weapon, one's going to be jewelry, and one's going to be an armor piece, right? So if you look at how many slots you have, that would leave you with the most armor needed, right? Because if you have one artifact weapon, say this is it, it would only leave you with one other weapon you need to acquire, right? Same with jewelry. If this piece is an artifact, that would leave you with only 2 other jewelry pieces that you need. With armor, you're going to say this was an artifact. That would leave you with 4 different items that you're gonna need. All right, this next tip that we're gonna go over is extremely important, right? This could save you thousands and thousands of gold end game and many hours, right? And we're gonna go over how to level up any craft in New World. It doesn't matter if it's engineering, armoring, kana, whatever it is. you're going to utilize this right here, this gold text right here, first craft bonus. It's so in the bottom right, it's going to tell you how much XP that you're going to get for completing whatever craft you're working on. If I were to make this sword, right? And as you see, it's 105,000 XP. If we were to go to this Orichalcum Rapier, which is the same level requirement, right? So those tend to give you the same amount of XP, right? So if we go to this that doesn't have that first craft bonus, you'll see we're only getting 37,000, right? And as you do this, use the cheapest material that you can, right? Because you're most likely just going to salvage this item when you're done, because you're just doing it for the XP. And the other thing I will mention is on occasion, I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to find this real quick, but on occasion you'll get to a point where it becomes too expensive, or you may even run out of first craft bonuses, which I really don't think is going to happen, because how it works is, say you're level 1, right, and you're doing your first craft bonuses. When you get to, say, like 20, there'll be certain milestones you hit, and you'll get like 30 new items to craft, right? So every time you get those new items, that's what you want to focus on. Every time you get new items, that is most likely what you want to focus on, because it's going to be a higher tier item to craft. Therefore, you're going to get more XP when you do it, right? But if you do hit a wall for whatever reason, a lot of these craft stations have things like this. Like this one has honing stones, right? And if you're leveling up this specific, if you're doing weaponsmithing, right? You could do these, and the reason why I recommend, considering making these at certain points if you hit a wall, is because pretty much every other thing you're going to craft, you're just going to salvage, right? If you craft 100 of these powerful honing stones, you could either use them, which you will, or you could sell them and make your money back, right? So it'll take a little gold cost up front to buy the mats to craft 100, 200 of these, but you will make your money back. You may even make a profit, or you just use it. Next thing we're going to go over is gypsum kilns. Where are they and how do you use them? So they are located in any town that is at least level 60, right? So if you zoom into settlement, it is going to be this icon right here. It says refine and craft gypsum here. So this is a gypsum kiln. How do you use it? I'm going to be honest, there is a lot of stuff you can do with the gypsum kiln. I don't use it a whole lot, but there is a lot you can do here. So if you go in it, one of the more basic things you can do is you could take these like sapphire gypsums, garnet gypsums, like all these different gypsums like that you acquire from doing daily things throughout the game, and you can turn them into gypsum orbs, right? So that's one thing you can do in a gypsum kiln. Other thing you can do is you could take artifacts. Once you complete all of the quests associated with the artifact, you can bring it here, and as long as you have all these items, you can do the final upgrade to it and add a final perk to it, right? Another thing you can do is named items. It's going to kind of be the same concept as the artifact, except there's no quests involved to do a final upgrade to a named item. but you're going to need all the required material. And if you have that, as you see, a named item, which we went over, has 2 locked perks, right? You could pick a third perk, get it to gear score 700 if it's not already. And theoretically, you could have a Besson slot item. Like I said, I'll just scroll through it. There is so much stuff you can do at the Gypsum kiln. It's crazy. So another kind of cool thing, and you'll have to determine if it's right for you. I believe it's once a week. Oh, it says cooldown, 4 days and 15 hours. But with those gypsum orbs that we had just crafted, right? You can get a cache of gold and matter, right? A cache of 1,500 gold and 250 dark matter. So this is a way to make gold in the game. I will say, honestly, I use my gypsum orbs in a different way that makes me more gold, right? Through making matrices. But you can do that at the gypsum kiln. It is something you can do. So the other thing that is intended to be done at the gypsum kiln is using materia to craft items, right? And how do you get this materia? You get it from doing expeditions, right? So each expedition is going to have its own materia. So as you see, there's a need, barnacles, Orion, Tempest. So each expedition is going to have its own materia, but the most valuable materia is going to be mutated materia, which you can only acquire from doing mutated dungeons, which we'll go over in this video too, right? So another thing you can do at the Gypsum kiln is when you do these expeditions, if you just touch any of these items, right, it'll unlock in the Gypsum kiln for you to craft with the specific materia that you need. But better than that is if you have the item in your inventory, then you can. So there's so much you could do here. It's hard. It's almost hard to explain. So one way is just using the materia without having the item. You can craft it. That's cool because look at this shield. You can craft a 700 shield. You don't even need the item, and you just need the materia, right? But the best way would be to have the item, right? It's going to cost a lot more to get to gear score 700, but you get to pick the third perk, right? As long as you have the item in your inventory, you have all the required materials, you could pick the third perk because that's the other thing with not having the item, right? So it shows here, if I had enough materia, I could craft this. It would be at 700. However, the third perk would be completely random. So, you know, there is a lot of cool stuff you can do here at the Gypsum kiln. And also, I will say, one of the things I used it for personally is not for any of that stuff, but there's actually a lot of cool looking items here. So if you don't plan on using a certain materia or whatever, you can craft something just to transmog it, right? I did that for some of the stuff I'm wearing right now. So next we're going to go over heart runes. What are they? How to get them? How to upgrade them? They're also known as heart gem rune abilities. You unlock these by a quest in Brimstone Sands called Secret of the Heart Rune. So if you don't have it, that's the quest you have to do to unlock the ability to be able to use them, right? So how do you get them? You get them from completing expeditions. Each expedition will have a specific heart rune that you get when you beat the final boss, right? How do you upgrade them? So if you want to upgrade them, you're going to do that in the stone cutting table. As you see, here are some of the heart runes that I have in my inventory that if I wanted to, I could upgrade them, right? This would be a gear score 560, 560, 700, right? And each time you upgrade it, it adds different abilities. As you see, I don't know if I can click on it to show you. But as you can read, Enfeebling Storm, right? Yeah, they all have different abilities. And you can see on my screen, toward the bottom right-ish, you would see I have currently the Brutal Heart Rune of the Devourer Heart Rune. And if I was to use it, I would have to fill up that, and then I would hit G on my keyboard, and that's how you would use it. Alright, next thing we're going to go over is artifacts. What are they? How do you get them? How many can you use? And how do you upgrade it, right? So I already kind of mentioned you can use 3 at a time. You can use a jewelry artifact. You can use a armor artifact and a weapon artifact. How do you get them? You get them from some drop from named enemies, some drop in mutated dungeons, and some drop from the P.V.P track reward. If you know a specific one you're going for, I recommend just Googling it. That'll tell you exactly how to get it, right? How to upgrade it. So the first thing you have to do is, let's see, so I'm going to take it off, right? I can show you. So if I equip the Venom, should populate in the top left. There you go. That'll tell me all the quests that I need to do in order to do the final upgrade. And if you look at your map, it should show you exactly where to go, right? So this says Artifact Venom. There's one spot. There's one spot, right? And you could just go over it and it'll do the same thing. You can read what you need to do. Final upgrade is going to be the Gypsum kiln. So when you do anything at the Gypsum kiln, it has to be in your inventory. It can't be on your gear, can't be in any gear sets. So you're going to go here. Since I don't have all the quests done, it won't show. Oh, well. So it's here. I don't think it would actually let me upgrade it. Like put the third perk because I don't have all the quests done. But this is where you would do it, right? You would need all the materials that it's asking for. You would need the craft mod for the final perk. Now we're going to go over Magnify. What is it? How it works? How to change it? And what equipment tends to have Magnify, right? So equipment that tends to have Magnify is going to be named items and artifacts, right? So this is a named item. It has Magnify on it. See what else? That does. This is a named item, but does not have Magnify on it. This is an artifact, and it does have Magnify on it. So what is Magnify, right? Magnify basically takes attributes and puts it in a specific spot, right? So, and this is new, right? If you hit the K button, Go to attributes. You'll see this menu right here for Magnify, and that is huge. A month or two ago, we didn't have this. The way Magnify used to work is it would scale off your highest attribute. So if your highest attribute was Constitution, it would automatically just dump anything with Magnify into there, right? So now you can change it to the highest, which is what it was. You could put it in a specific attribute. You could put it in strength. You could put it in dex. You could switch it all around, right? All right, we're gonna go over chromatic seals now. This is a juicy one because they are very, very important. More for end game and later game returning players, but you get them from your faction vendor. You have to have your faction leveled all the way up because it is a reward for the last tier. This is where you buy it from, right? And they're pretty expensive. Cost 5,000 gold and 20,000 faction tokens, which faction tokens come from P.V.P activities, OPR, Outpost Rush, 3v3s, capping forts, influence races, all that stuff, killing, flagged players in the world. That's how you would get the faction tokens. This is how you buy it. So why are they so important, right? Because it is the cheapest way to get Abyss item in New World currently. So how you would use it is you would take any named item as long as its level down here is over 60, right? Then you can upgrade whatever it is in the Gypsum kiln, and you are going to need 3 chromatic seals, right? Sounds expensive, and it is, but the alternative to get the exact 3 perks that you want on an item is way more expensive, believe it or not. So if you find an item that has 2 of the perks that you wanted on it, you could upgrade it. You pick your 3rd perk, boom, you have a Abyss item, right? And another tip, if you want to find a named item that is going to work for your build, you can go to newworlddatabase.com, and that has a awesome search engine to look up named items with specific perks. So that is chromatic seals. All right. Now is as good a time as ever to go over what is an Azoth inductor, right? How to get them, who can use them, and I will tell you the best time to get them is during events. So New World on occasion holds events, and sometimes one of the rewards you can get is an Azoth inductor. I would recommend taking advantage of any event that you can get them there, because you buy them from the faction vendor. It's going to be the last level under Magus, same as the chromatic seal. Right here, Azoth inductor. It is potentially, the most expensive thing, you could use in the game. And it cost 71,250 faction tokens and 25,000 gold. Why is it so expensive? It is the main thing that you need to craft max gear score items exactly the way you want it. So this is the item that allows you, when you're crafting, to have all the perks you want, everything you want on the item. You still need all the other requirements. You need to be max level for that craft. You need to have you need to have the armor, the trophies, the food buff, the town buff, this. You need all that stuff still, but that is what a Azoth inductor is, and this is where you get it. Alright guys, this next one is going to be kind of a long one, so I'm going to give it to you as quick as I can. The best way to make gold once you hit around level 55 is going to be to run acid chest runs, right? What are you trying to get? This is it right here, golden scarabs. Why are these so important? A, they're worth about 1,500 apiece. When you do this acid chest run, which takes about 20 minutes to do, typically you'll get between 1 and 3, right? I had someone in my chat yesterday who said they got 7 in one run. It is possible to get 0, but the average range is between like 1 and 3, and they're worth like 1,500 apiece. So in that amount of time, 20 minutes, this is the best way to make gold in the game, period, without crafting something. So the reason why they're worth a lot of gold is because, as it says, a rare crafting material that when combined with timeless shards allows a crafter to select two perk items. So when you craft something, right, all these things that I've crafted, I've used golden scarabs, right? So this allowed me to, lock, say, like enfeebling skewer and shirking fortification, right? Shirking fortification, critical retribution. So it'll allow you to lock 2 perks, have a gear score 700 item, and the third perk will be random, right? So that's the short version of it, as short as I can make it. So where do you run a golden scarab run? You're going to need 5 different shrines and brimstone sands. You can get them from other world tours, but for the acid chest run, which you could do solo, you're going to need New Corsica City. You're going to need Cradle's Rest. You're going to need Great Shrine of Throth. You're going to need Wormsign Obelisk. And you're going to need Miracle Shrine, right? And without like spending 10 minutes on this, I can show you all these little, like if you can see what this is, that little rectangle right there, these are all acid chests, right? If we go up to here, there's one right here. And this is just giving you the basis, putting the idea in your head. You need to run these every day. You can only hit these chests once a day. So you're probably going to have to watch another video. Just Google acid chest run, and it'll give you the full breakdown, right? I'm going to show you what gypsum stones are. So this is an example of what a few of them look like. And they are a material that you can get daily in New World. You can get obsidian gypsum right here. You can get 3 of them by killing level 60 plus bosses in New World. You can get ruby gypsum, which I think I crafted them earlier, but you can get sapphire gypsum from completing expeditions twice a day. You can get, like I mentioned, the ruby gypsum, 2 of them from doing OPR. You can get the garnet gypsum, which is what I'm showing right now. I believe 2 of them a day from doing the 3v3 arena. You can get the emerald gypsum from getting an aptitude and any trade skill, right? So this is just kind of just giving you an overview, right? So then you take these stones, right? You bring them to the gypsum kiln and you convert them into gypsum orbs. We are going to go over real quick what you can use these gypsum orbs for. And off the bat, I will tell you they are very important because you can't buy them, right? Like you can't buy them from the trade post. You can't just buy an unlimited amount, right? So you can use them to upgrade items in the Gypsum kiln, as we mentioned, named items, artifacts. You can use them to upgrade heart runes, and you can use them to craft matrices. Those are the main ways to use them. We're going to go over the different kind of matrices in the game. Currently, there is 3. You have the armor matrix, you have the weapon matrix, and the jewelry matrix. In order to craft any gear score 700 item with 3 perks, it is going to require one of these matrices. So if you craft it, right, at a forge, or, if you craft the item, you're going to need one of these. If you upgrade a named item to gear score 700, you're going to need one of these matrices. If you upgrade a artifact, you're going to need one of these matrices, right? And how can you get them? The nice thing about this is you can buy them, right? They're expensive, ranging from like 4,500 to like 7,000, depending on the market and the matrix. How to craft them: at any crafting station, there's going to be 2 things. There's going to be a matrix that you can craft, and there's going to be 1 matrix craft, which is right here, matrix component. So if you want to make the honing acid, this is going to be the required items to craft it. So with that being said, with a matrix requiring 2 components, you're going to need more than 1 craft maxed out, right? So now we're at the outfitting station, and we are going to be able to, let me see if I can find this. These things are kind of difficult to find. Let's see. So at this table, we have the enchanted handle. This is a matrix component. This is what is going to be required to make it. And here you can also make an armor matrix just like the arcane repository, but it's going to require different items to actually craft it. Blessed rivets and reinforced bracing. We'll check out one more just so you guys can get an idea, So at the stone cutting table, it'll be the same thing. We're going to have a matrix component, which at this table is going to be the blessed rivets, and we're going to be able to craft the jewelry matrix. So if you guys remember, the arcane repository had honing acid. This craft table, or whatever craft, has blessed rivets. So if you did those 2, you could come back to this station and craft a jewelry matrix. Alright, next we're going to go over weapon perks. What are they, how you get them, and are they good? So, weapon perks are under craft mods. So for the spear, there's going to be specific weapon perks that you can put on a weapon or gear. It is stronger on the weapon, but you can also put it on the gear, right? So it takes an ability that you can have on a weapon, and it adds another effect. Generally speaking, a lot of them are better than just a regular perk, right? Like, I have on my gloves Leeching Cyclone. That is typically better than, say, Vigor or Health or something like that, right? You have to find a balance of, you got to pick out the good perks and you got to pick out the good weapon perks and piece it together. So as you see on my boots, I have enfeebling skewer, right? So if we type in bow, right? So there's basically every weapon in the game is going to have different weapon perks. and you get them from just looting chests throughout the world. You could buy them from the trade post, but if you're a new player, I thought it'd be kind of cool to show you guys this, because I find this to be something interesting, and if you don't know about it, you know, that's basically the basics of it. You would take those craft mods that I showed you, and while you're crafting, you could put it on, like I said, a piece of armor or a weapon, or you could just go to the trade post and search for it with that specific weapon perk. Alright, next we're going to go over leaderboards. You hit the K button and go to activities. In the top right, you'll see leaderboards, and this will give you all sorts of different stats about players in the game. And the cool thing about this is you can actually get rewards for, you know, being high on the leaderboard, right? You can get a chess piece here, a different chess piece here. You can go through all these different kind of stats. This is for mutated expeditions. There's faction wars, seasonal versus environment, seasonal versus players. So, and they even have trade skills, right? You could even see who's crafting the most stuff, right? So, and then go into all these different menus and see what you want to check out, right? Pretty cool. This next one, there's a lot of information I can give here. So again, I'm going to make it as short and sweet as possible. We're going to go over how to get the most when gathering, how to get the most yield, and to have the most luck possible. So you're going to want the appropriate gear that gives you a yield increase and luck increase. There's going to be specific gear for each gathering type. The next thing you're gonna want is the appropriate trade skill food that will increase the luck when you're gathering. So this one's for mining. We're gonna use that. You can always use a proficiency boost. I don't necessarily recommend buying the top tier of these. I would shop around in the trade post, see which one's most cost efficient. The reason why I have the powerful one is because I crafted a bunch when I was leveling up a craft skill. So I just use them since I have them anyway. So you would use that. Go ahead and pop that. You're going to want to play a song on the hardest difficulty, no matter what song. But you're going to want Fortune's Favor, increases yield when gathering. Right, so you're going to play that. Also, attributes are going to play a huge role in this. So, again, depending on what gathering you're doing, there's like anything to do with gathering is going to be strength. A lot of these milestones, you're going to get different bonuses. Plus 10% yield, plus 20% speed when, you know, all this is mining. Minus 10% weight of mined items. If you're skinning, it's going to be dexterity. So you want to have dexterity all the way as high as possible. Intelligence is going to be harvested items, right? And then constitution is going to be logging. You get that as high as possible. The other thing that you can do is you can have a trophy, which I have major trophies, but if you're doing mining, you can get mining trophies that will increase the luck when doing whatever activity you're doing. So once you have all that stuff, you will be efficient as possible, right? The last thing that we could go over too is the tools, right? And this is just going to depend on how much gold you have and how much you want to invest. But, you know, having a good tool will also give you like the fastest speed when doing the gathering, will give you a better yield when you're gathering. Housing. How many can you have? How much do they cost? And what are the major differences between the expensive ones and the cheap ones? So the least expensive house in most areas is going to be 5K. The most expensive is going to be 20K. The biggest differences between the two are going to be how many storage chests you can have in your house. The beginning 5K one is going to only allow you to have one storage chest. If you buy the 20K big houses, you can have 4. So that will drastically change how much storage you can have in that settlement. They can all have 5 trophies, so that doesn't matter from a big to a small house. The property taxes will go up on a bigger house, but if you're looking to buy a big house, I feel like that's pretty minor and that's not something you're worried about at that time. All right, the next thing we're going to go over is trophies. Some of these tips are pretty basic. However, there is one pretty good tip later on sprinkled in there a little bit. So we're going to go over what they do, how you get them or craft them, and how many can you have. So let's start with how many can you have, right? And how do you use them? So you are going to press the K button, go to bio right here. It's in the top left. If my face is in the way, I'm clicking on the bio in the top left. So once you get here, you can see your trophy buffs, right? You have to put these in your house. Just like any other decoration or furniture, you just place it in your house. Once it's in there, you have whatever buff that it provides. So I have all the major trophies. So I don't have any of the major, basic, or minor. So that's where you put it. You put it in your house. Once it's in there, it's active, right? So the benefit of having ultimate trophies like I do is there is a lot of trophies in the game. There's more than you can have in your houses. So you have to constantly switch them around depending on what content you're doing, right? But once you have the major ones, you just put them all in and you don't have to swap them around. So how do you get them? Like I said, looting, and you could buy them. So, and there's 3 tiers of trophies. There's the minor, which is the first tier, basic, which is the second, and major, which is the third, the top tier. So if we click on this, the minor ancient combat trophy, it's plus 3% to ancients, right? Ancient enemy types. So if you have 3 houses and you have 3 of these, that would be plus 9% more damage, right? So if we were to do, see, here's all 3 of them. If we were to do major, it would be plus 5%. So if you have 1 in each 3 of your houses, assuming you have houses, assuming you have 3 of them, you would have plus 15% damage to any ancient type that you come across in Aeternum. Now, how do you craft them? You're going to do that, which I recommend. I recommend spending as little money, gold as possible at the trade post, right? You're going to make them at the workshop. So we go in here, and I'm going to show you that tip that I was talking about earlier, right? So if you scroll all the way down at the bottom, this is how you would make the miner. Pretty simple stuff, right? That's why I don't recommend buying them, because you could just make it. And so the tip that I wanted to remind players is this. So the next tier trophies are not going to populate in the workshop unless you have the additional resource, right? So you guys see how I'm in here and I have the ancient text, right? I have the minor arcana trophy. And it doesn't tell you what you need, right? Your best friend is going to be Google when it comes to this. If you want to know what the basic mining gathering trophy additional resources or recipe, that's what it's called. If you want to know the recipe for any of these trophies, just Google them, right? So you see how it populates, right? If I were to come out here and I were to drop the ancient text, just put it on the floor, and I go back in here, it will not show me the rest of the recipe. It just is, it's not there. See how it's not there? So if I go and pick it up, I have it, go back in, and now it'll be there. So it'll be that way with every type of trophy besides the minor. And I guess I can go ahead and tell you guys how you get the ultimate trophy is through your faction vendor right here. It's extremely expensive, right? And it is the tier 6, the Magus, right? All the way down here, you will find, I don't know why this isn't working. Or maybe it's not, yeah, it's tier 5, I think, or the last tier. So here they are right here. Each one is 45,000 gold, 100,000 faction tokens. And then once you have that component, you'll have to go back to the wood shop, combine every single major trophy that applies to that trophy, and then you can make one major trophy. So, because if you look at, let me show you an easy one. So, for the ultimate combat trophy, it says Ancient, Angry Earth, Beast, Corrupt, Lost, Human. You need every single major trophy and it'll combine into this one. And you need to do that 3 times. And you need to do that with Gathering, Combat, and Crafting. Next, we're going to cover town buffs. What are they? How do you get them? And are they important? When are they going to actually impact you as a player? So I will say this tip is not exactly something that's going to impact new players. It's more going to impact players that stay past the MSQ. So you're going to hit the M button, no, sorry, the K button on your keyboard. And over here on the right hand side, you can only get these, I call them town buffs. I think most people call them town buffs. Territory bonuses from owning a house in a specific territory. I own 3 houses, one's in Brightwood. These are the passive buffs that I'm going to get for owning a house there. I'm going to be honest, there's not a whole lot going on in this town. I own another house in Windsward. These are the important ones. So as you see, increase base armoring gear score for 3 days. That means, what that really means is, if you don't own a house in a town that has this buff, you're not crafting a max gear item for armoring. We also have the weaponsmithing one. Same thing applies. If you do not have a house in a town that has this buff active, you are not crafting a max gear score item. Same with this, engineering, and so on. So I own another house in Brimstone Sands. Okay, so this one has the weaponsmithing one too. I highly recommend owning a house in Windsward. This place never seems to let me down. There's always good town buffs available there. The next tip I'm going to bring you guys is a pretty cool one. I'm ashamed to say it, but I learned it recently from someone from chat. It's pretty useful later in the game, right? You have to go to your faction vendor, and it's going to be one of the first things you can buy. Right about here. So I guess it's in the tier 3 items. It's going to be this master work material converter. I'll just go ahead and buy 2. I think I already have some, but I'm just going to show you guys what it does, right? So all these, let me see, I don't even know if I have any in my inventory. Yes, all these reagents right here, you can basically convert them to a different one. So pure solvent seems to be the most common reagent, and just so happens to be the most useless one, right? So what we can do with those things we just purchased is we can convert them to one that we actually need. And also, these are also the cheapest ones. I don't know, don't quote me on it, but you could probably convert, if you have a bunch of this pure solvent sitting around, convert them to something useful like obsidian flux or aged tannin and sell it for a good profit, right? If you ever get to that point. So if you go to any of the refining tables, right, you're going to see refining material conversion. There's that thing we just bought, master work material converter. So it's going to ask us, hey, what do you want to use to convert to aged tanning? However, as you see, it requires 20 of the pure solvent, and you only get 15 of whatever you're converting it to into. So if you do a lot of crafting, if you enjoy crafting and gathering like I do, it's one of my favorite things to do in this game. If you come and watch me stream at any point, you'll hear me talking about crafting and gathering all the time, or you'll see me doing it. Next thing we're going to talk about, guys, is Azoth. What is it, and what do you do when you're getting close to being cap on Azoth? Okay, so I'm going to show you where to find how much Azoth you have. That is going to be down here in the bottom right, Azoth. Okay, so you use this to fast travel in between shrines and settlements. You use it to craft items. When you're crafting stuff, you use all your normal stuff that it asks you to do, all your materials and stuff, and then you have to add Azoth for some reason, and it'll give you the highest chance to craft what you're, not what you're trying to craft, but like to give you the maximum bonus out of that craft, if that makes sense. So when this gets close to cap, I'm going to show you what to do. I'm also going to give you another side tip. These vial of suspended Azoth, what you can do with these is when you salvage it, it's going to give you returns Azoth. So if I were to use all of them, right? I'm at 2334. Now I'm at 2498. I'm literally 2 off from being cap, right? I do not recommend using these to do what I'm going to tell you to do. I have so many of these vial of suspended Azoth because, and I'm going to give you another bonus tip talking about this. So once you hit max level, so this right here is going to be an end game tip. But once you hit max level on anything, crafting or refining, right? Which I think there's one that So here, music as an example, I hit 250, which is the current cap, right? And once I get, as I do music, it gives me experience as if I was ranking up, right? And as soon as I hit this milestone, it's going to give me an aptitude crate. That aptitude crate is going to have items in it related to music. And same with all of these. As you see, melting, I have hit cap and gone around this 159 times. Every time I hit um, one of these milestones, it's going to give me an aptitude crate. When I open that aptitude crate, it's going to have Azoth, vial of suspended Azoth. So I have a ton of these things. So the main point, what do you do with it? This is, I don't want to say it's crucial to your game, but it's really important. I do this probably every day, every other day at the latest, right? So instead of just letting it get the cap and just wasting any other Azoth that I get, you can go to any refining table or station, right? And you're going to use it on these. So as you break down gold items that you don't want, you're going to get these infused weapon fragments, and you get other ones besides weapon fragments, but at this table, it's weapon fragments. And I have so many of them, I don't carry all of them around because otherwise I'm going to be carrying around 500 pounds of fragments, right? So when you use this, without dragging this out too long, right? I just got 9 of those crates for free, right? It's something that would have gone to waste had I not done that, because I still have 248. That's plenty to fast travel around, and I'll just keep acquiring more. Once I get back toward cap, I'll go and I'll craft more of these cases, right? Doesn't have to be the case of Asmodium, right? But this is what I just got all these Asmodium ingots just from doing that, right? I mean, honestly, I don't even, well, I want to show you a few things. I'm going to do this as quick as possible. So if I went to this station, right? I don't know if it's going to show me because I don't have enough Azoth, but let's see. So here, I showed you weapon fragments. So this would be engineering fragments. So my point is there's a bunch of different fragments, right? It's not just weapon. You got jewelry, that one I just showed you. So let's see how much that was worth. As modium, right? So I just got 10 of these. That was 385 gold. I do this every day, every other day, right? Free gold, it's free materials. It's a really good thing to get in the habit of doing. The next thing we're going to talk about is tools. And I'm going to give new, returning, and possibly even veteran players my thoughts on why tools that are 600 to 625 gear score are just fine, right? If you're not at that point of just kind of having access gold, not buying trophies and houses and gear and all that stuff, I highly, highly recommend not spending a ton of gold on tools. And I'm going to show you exactly why. So you saw I clicked on tools. We're going to go to gathering, right? And we're going to use this button right here. That is your best friend when you're in the trade post. So let's say a minimum gear score of 600, right? I will say the most important perk to have on a tool is going to be yield. So we're gonna look up a mining pick. So I honestly don't even think this part is necessary, but we're gonna click because I think most of them have it on it anyway. But just to be safe, the most important perk on any tool is gonna be the yield. Whether if it's mining, logging, skinning, you're gonna want the one that does yield. So we have that. And again, I'm going to show you exactly why. See, this is See, and actually this is a perfect demonstration on my point. Okay? To buy this one, this is what I have. This is the one that I'm actually using, right? And if you were to buy this, you would spend around 50,000 gold to buy this pickaxe, right? What's the difference between mine and a gear score 625? I'm going to give you a little secret. It's not much. It's not much. So the gathering speed for mine is plus 1100%. The one on the 625 is plus 950%. That is a almost not noticeable difference, right? They both have 5 perks. I mean, my yield increase from this perk is 21%. The one on the 625 is 20%. We're talking 1%. We're talking huge mid-maxing, right? So like I said, mine is going to cost you about 50K. This one that we just looked at is going to cost you 488 gold. So do not buy anything out of your price range. I highly recommend you do as soon as you can. If you enjoy gathering at all, this should be more important than buying new gear. I would even argue a house in the beginning. Just go ahead and buy a gear score 625. You know, of all the crafting, all the tools, right? So 625 logging axe, mining pick, skinning knife, and sickle. So, I mean, if you couldn't tell, I don't really do any fishing. It's the only thing in the game I don't really do. So, if you enjoy fishing, I'm sure it's the same concept. And this is a very good tip. The next thing we're going to talk about is world tours. What is a world tour? How do you get invited? Are they worth doing? And where to go for a world tour. So I'm going to give you a little bit of my own personal experience from being a beginning player. It stressed me out. I didn't know where to go. I wasn't really confident on like getting invited to a group. So hopefully me explaining this to you will ease any concerns you have about getting into one, right? So a world tour in New World basically is a group of people, ideally 10 to 20, if not more, going to an elite zone. Like this is one right here. This is one right. Actually, this is one, Capri. This is one, Heliopolis is another one. And they're scattered. Here's another one. This is known as the Wall. So they're elite areas on the map. You go there with a group of people. You kill all the mobs. You kill all the named enemies. And you loot the elite chest, hoping to get elite rewards from the chest, right? So how do you find one, right? How do you like participate in one? So if you go to you press the enter button, right? You have a whole bunch of these different tabs, right? You're going to go to recruit and you're going to look for something that says X World Tour, X Wall, X Capri, just any X Merc, X Human. Let's see if we can find any chat. I don't know if there's any going on right now. I don't see any currently going on right now. They usually, hold on. No, that's not one. So, long story short, if anyone was advertising in recruitment to do a world tour, all you would do is you put X wall, right? If someone was doing a wall run. You could even put in chat, hey, is anyone doing a world tour? and someone will respond back, let you know, right? So you could do X wall. I usually do invite, you know, just to be like courteous or whatever, but all you have to put is X wall. Then other thing is you cannot be flagged for PvP, right? So make sure you're not flagged for PvP. You will not be able to accept the invite to the group. But once you do, the way to find it without stressing out, like, oh, I don't know where it is, I don't know where to go, is you just simply bring up the map. You're going to just look at the map like how you see us right here. You're going to see everyone that's in the group where they're located at, right? So if they were doing Hilo, you would see a bunch of little dots right here. Just say, okay, let me go to the fastest shrine or even town, and then you just meet them up over there. So are they really worth it? In my humble opinion, I don't do them that often, right? My advice in New World is do the content that you enjoy. Is it always rewarding to do world tours? No. If you do multiple world tours, like multiple locations, I've seen them last an hour. I've seen them last up to like close to 3 hours to do all of them, right? You're going to get a bunch of loot. You're going to get a bunch of stuff. Is any of it going to be super valuable? You know, maybe, maybe not. But that's how you do it. And that's the information I can provide to you guys. Oh, one last tip about world tours. I don't recommend doing one until you hit around maybe 50, but I would say 55, 58 is when you should start trying to do them. Otherwise, you're going to have a rough time, you know. There's elite bosses and a bunch of mobs. You'll just get one shot and you probably won't be able to finish it. All right, activity group finder. This is something that has recently been added to the game, and we're going to go over how it works. That poor guy didn't make it. I don't know what he was doing. We're going to go over how it works, and alternatively, what's the other option you can do, right? So you're going to hit the M button. You're going to go to activities in the top left, and that's going to bring up the activity finder. I'm going to go ahead and close that. That's going to bring up the activity finder, right? This system is going to allow you to cross-server queue into content, right? If you want to do an expedition, elite trials, this actually doesn't work right now. But mutated expeditions, 3v3s, as of making this video, does not work either. But you can queue into Outpost Rush. And how it works, it's really simple. You just click it, click play, and then we insta-queue it into an OPR, Outpost Rush. We're going to hit decline. We're not looking to play right now. More specifically, which is a little tiny bit more complicated, is going to be mutated expeditions. So you click this, right, and it's going to bring this menu up. These are the current 3 mutated expeditions, which we are going to cover in this video. What is a mutated expedition? So if you wanted to queue into the depths mutation, you would click on it and you would just hit Q. We're going to do one. Apparently we don't even have that. So if you wanted to click, if you wanted to find a mutated dynasty shipyard, right, you just click into it. You can click M1 or M2, whatever one you're looking for, or M3 if you have it unlocked, right? See how it's blue? And then when I click M3, it's gray because I can't. So we're going to go into M2. We're going to hit Q. And then it's going to kind of do a check of what role you can play, right? So pretty much anyone can queue as a damage dealer. In order to queue as a tank, you need the Carnelian gem or taunt ability, right? If you want to queue for a healer, you have to have level 18 life staff and 325 attributes into focus. Right, so once you pick it, hit confirm, and that's all you have to do. Now I'm in the queue. If I were to back out of this menu, it would show right up here that I'm queued. Once the game is able to fill a lobby for what I'm looking for, it will do the same thing it did for Outpost Rush. It's going to pop up here, say, oh, you've been invited to a mutated expedition. Would you like to queue in now? And it'll give you a countdown. So I think that covers most of right here, the activity finder. Let's see. So if you wanted to do an expedition, you would go in here, click one of these, whatever you wanted to do, hit Q, pick your role, and then once the game can fill a regular barnacles and black powder, it'll queue me in. So, alternatively to that, is there another option? Yes. That is the new system, which is cross-server. It is a good system. I recommend using it. However, the other option would be do the same thing. Hit M to bring up the menu, right? Or the map. If you wanted to do a need or any dungeon you want, right? You could do Glacial Tarn. You could do Empyrean Forge. So what you would do is you click it, click regular, because there's only 3 maps that are mutated a week. This is not one of them. So you're going to click regular. You're going to click view lobbies, right? If you click Q, that is going to bring you into the activity group finder that we were just looking at. If you click view lobbies, it's going to show you any lobbies that are on this server. So you could create a lobby, right? Choose your role. Same thing, damage. You could adjust these. These really aren't important, at least for, you know, regular, even mutated one. For my experience, I don't find it to be that important. This, say I was a tank, right? I would unselect this because I don't want anyone who's going to queue in as a tank. We don't need another tank. I'm the tank. Same with this. If I were to queue with 2 of my friends and we had 3 damage dealers, we would unclick this. So the only people that could queue in is going to be a tank or a healer. And furthermore, once someone queues in, which is going to be you'll have a little box right here, and you'll see like a little 1 when someone joins. You click that. You can look at their stats, you can look at what they're running, their attributes, and you can accept them or you can not accept them. Also, what you could do, regardless to if you're in an activity group finder group or if you're on a local lobby, is you could do what our good friend Tablet did right here, and they put in recruitment. This stands for looking for 1 member. Apparently they're looking for a tank on M1 in need. So you could do that with any dungeon that you're looking for to help fill the group. Mutated expedition. Kind of a lot to go over here. I'm going to go over as much as I can, as quick as I can. So when do they change? How do you get into an M1 through M3? We're going to go over the difference between doing the group finder versus doing one on the server. We're going to go over some basic stuff to help you be successful on mutated expeditions and just what are they, right? So first thing we're going to go over is you can't do an expedition unless you have unlocked it on the map, right? So they're going to look like this, a big door like this. You're going to walk up to them. That will unlock that expedition. You now do not have to physically go to it in order to participate in this expedition. So a mutated expedition. You're going to hit the M button, go to activities. Right in the middle here, mutated expedition. So these rotate every week. Every Tuesday, you get 3 new mutated expeditions. They are expeditions, but they are harder, right? So if we click on the first one, the depths, what makes this mutated? It's an ice-bound mutation. So the main thing that you need, the first, very most important thing you need to know is like what effect it has. This one's ice. This one's going to be nature. And then the last mutation for the week is going to be void. And the reason why this is so important is, as soon as I can find it, the first thing, enemies deal 50% of all damage as void damage. So the reason why that is so important is because if you can mitigate damage in this dungeon, you have a much better chance of surviving. So why is that important? Figuring out what type of damage they do, right? So here, it says frozen enemies deal 50% of all damage as ice damage. So the reason why that is so important is, let me see if I have one. So I could show you right here. On my amulet, I have frozen protection. Receive 15% less ice damage, right? So no matter what the mutation is, you want to have an amulet that has that type of protection. This has flame protection. You could get one for void. You can get one for nature. I have a nature one somewhere. I don't know if it's in my inventory, but I mean, as you can see, I have a lot of different protection amulets. So the 2 key perks here on any amulet is going to be the protection and then health. The third one is kind of like a, I mean, it's not actually a bonus, right? But it's just the most important perks is going to be the protection and the health, because getting plus 7% max health is pretty significant. So the amulet, and then the other thing that is super crucial is having gems. You see this green gem? That's an emerald. Green gem, green gem. So basically, again, depending on the specific mutation you're going to play, you want to have gems slotted, because right here you see from that emerald, that green gem that I have on this ring, it does plus 5% thrust damage absorption. So I take 5% less damage from thrust weapons. What you would want is the same gem, see, like on this amulet that I have frozen protection, I have the gem that also absorbs ice damage. So you would want to slot all your armor with the appropriate gem to absorb that damage. You would want the amulet that would absorb that damage type. So you can see how this can become very costly with there being 3 mutations every week. You kind of want to pick one and stick to it, because when you replace these gems, the old one just disappears, right? If I were to replace this emerald with a ice gem, that emerald no longer exists. I don't get it back, right? So that is kind of the basics of what you want to do to prep for a mutation. Also, I mean, kind of the basics, but this goes along with just regular mutation expeditions too, is you would want to run, let me see if I have any on me. So if I knew it was going to be angry earth enemy types in a expedition, mutated expedition, you would want these right here. These ward potions increase damage absorption from angry earth by 7% for 35 minutes, right? And you can also get these potions to coincide with the mutation, right? We saw the one that was ice. So increase ice damage absorption by 12% for 30 seconds. So you could have this slotted on your hotbar, and if you know you're about to encounter a boss, or if you're taking a lot of damage, just pop one of those. And then you would also, this goes for expeditions, any type of PvE content. If you know that the enemies in this expedition are going to be beast type, you would pop one of these coatings. You have to put it on each weapon, and then for however long they last, this one's 35 minutes, you do 13% more damage to beast. So you could see, this is kind of what MMOs do. If you watch this whole video, or majority, you may have seen the trophy section where you would do more damage to certain enemy types, right? You stack the trophies, you stack the coatings, you stack the mitigation, and that's what will get you to where you need to be, right, to complete harder content. So how do you actually how do you qualify to do a mutated expedition, right? So let's go back to here, and let's show this is a good example. I don't have access to complete any of these mutations because since I've came back, I did take a break for playing this game for about 8 months, and when I came back, long story short, I stayed doing PvP as opposed to PvE. I used to do a lot of PvE, so I do know a lot of these dungeons. So I would have to do the depths, regular, expedition, then M1 would unlock. Then I could do M1 if I clear it with a silver or higher, so it's bronze, silver, gold. As long as I don't get bronze, if we clear it, if I get silver or gold, it'll unlock M2. Same thing. Clear it with silver or gold. Actually, no, I take that back. I think for M3, I think you have to clear M2 with gold, but I'm not sure. No, it says right here. Complete this expedition with silver to unlock the next difficulty. So it is silver or gold for M2, then you get M3, right? So right now on Dynasty Shipyard, I have M1 and M2 unlocked, right? I got a gold on M1. If I were to queue for an M2, we got silver or gold, it would unlock M3, right? I think you guys get the gist of it, right? That covers that. Was there anything else I wanted to go over? So there's something else I wanted to mention. If you do use the activity group finder here, and you just queue into, like if I were to queue into this M2 Dynasty Shipyard, right? I were to do this, I waited until I got a match. Once you get into it, you have, I want to say it's like a 10 or 15% buff. Since you're playing cross server, since you obviously don't know the people, right? You're at that disadvantage. New World has made it to where you could take, I think it's like 10% more damage, and you do 10% more damage to the enemies, right? So that is a huge benefit of using the cross world group finder, blah, blah, blah. We're going to discuss a popular topic that gets brought up in my stream, which is what servers are good on New World. As of now, on East Coast, I would say Valhalla is probably potentially the best. Valhalla is really good. That's where I'm at currently. And I would say Marama is also on the same level, is very good. Lilith, I've heard is really good, but it is a fresh start server. So once you go there, you can't leave, right? So you couldn't transfer out of it. Does New World have trials? And the answer is yes. We have a couple. We have 2 in Brimstone Sands. We have the Trial of the Devourer. And then the other one in Brimstone Sands is the Hatchery. I believe this is a 8 or 10-man trial. The Trial of the Devourer is a 20-man trial. And then we have one more over here, the Winter Rune Forge. We did just get announced that we're getting another one that's going to be in Cutlass Keys. I don't think we know any of the details yet. So those are the trials. Those are the icons to look for, or the location if you need to mark, locate it on your map. And then what else we have in New World is trials. These are soul trials, right? So there's one here. This is the same icon, but it's a smaller version, right? So there's one. And I believe there's one right here. This is another soul trial. And down here, kind of hidden, is another soul trial. I'm going to show you what it takes to craft a current max gear score piece of armor. So I have on all my armoring armor. I have my earrings on. That gives me the buff. We're going to pop a spicy cabbage soup, which increases my armoring gear score by 15. So we're going to use that. I'm going to show you that in the town I'm in, Windsward, I own a house here. We have Armorer's Inspiration. You need that or you cannot craft the top gear score. We're going to go into the forge. Oh, one other thing I need to show you is going to be under bio. I have all my crafting trophies on right now. So this does armoring. It does all of them because I have a major one. If you didn't have this, you would do the major trophy. So I have, is it this one? I have all 3 of my trophies going. We're gonna go in here. And from this menu, I will show you. So right now we're under Timeless Shard Constitution, right? If I had the resource that did strength, intelligence, focus, whatever it was, it would populate the same thing it says here, except for it would say Timeless Shard Strength, Timeless Shard Dexterity. Whatever resource I'm using that would provide, that attribute is what you want to be under. So let's do Mithril Helm. We're going to do the Golden Scarab. And you want to use all the top tier mats, which it's already selected. Prismatic. See, right now we're at 685, right? This is not the top tier we can use. Prismatic leather is. Boom. 700. That is the top gear score that we could craft right now. So this right here shows you what you would need, right? You need the prismatic ingots, the prismatic leather, prismatic cloth. You would need the resource that is going to dictate what attribute you want. And I have the Constitution one. We have the timeless shards for the helmet. See how it has the weights and see how all 3 of them are black? If it was a light helmet, it would only have one of those weights black and then the other 2 would be white. I have my golden scarabs. I have my armor matrix. Then you're going to add the perks that you want. It's going to allow you to do 2. So say you wanted enchanted ward and strike conditioning, right? You see how it says medium, right? We have everything we need. All we have to do, see how this is red, red, red. The first white one is what we're going to select. Watch it change from medium to high. Boom, high. All we have to do at this point is hit craft, and we would have a gear score 700 helmet. It would pick a random third perk. We would have a gem slot. Alright guys, this video is over. It ended up being over 2 hours long. I believe it's the longest New World video that I've seen on YouTube. I've washed this shirt multiple times because I didn't want to constantly be wearing different shirts throughout the video, because I have made this video over the span of a few days. So I kept having to wash it, to rewear it. If anyone found this video useful, my mission has been complete. I put everything in there that I could think of. And if you guys enjoyed watching the video, I go live every single day on Twitch. I stream New World. I'm excited for what the future of New World has coming. I do believe that this game is going to remain alive, that we're going to get a lot of people with the console release. I think the devs are going to start focusing on things for us, the veteran players, and just at this point, players in general, because they're not going to have to be focusing on the console release. So if you enjoyed hanging out with me, if my voice didn't annoy you too much, if my face wasn't too much to look at, come visit me on Twitch. I'm live there. We have a small growing community of people that come into chat every day. They're more than happy to help people that come in and ask questions. You know, some players think that 2,600 hours in this game is a lot. Some people have a lot more than me. And thankfully, you know, they're really cool people. I have a few of them in my chat that have 5, 6, 7,000 hours in this game. So, you know, we just like to hang out, have fun. So that would be the best way to stay in contact with me, would be to visit me on Twitch and hang out. So until the next one, guys, I'm out. I'm so ready to be done with this video. Again, I hope that helped people, but I'll see you guys later.